It's the best local sports show in Jacksonville. This is the Action Sports Jax postgame show, sponsored by Anichar and Levine, Accident Attorneys.
Well, welcome in once again to another sad Sunday recap from SoFi Stadium, Los Angeles, California, where the Jaguars visited for the first time in franchise history. And like many of the West Coast trips in the past, they lost. You know, last year they beat Oakland, but they lose this one 39-29 to the LA Chargers, and young quarterback Justin Herbert, who in the second half looked really good after I thought he was just okay. I tweeted he was just okay, and then he threw like 2 touchdowns and ran another one. So this one's probably on me a little bit. Brent Martineau here on the Jaguars postgame show. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the Facebook page. We will hear from Doug Marrone, Gardner Minshew, others as well. This is an interesting one to break down, and we do this all the time. The Jags have now lost 6 in a row, and so you can rant, you can holler at the TV, or you can just kind of say, what is going on in Jacksonville, and this is the way it's going to be for the next 9 weeks most likely. This could have taken a different kind of tone coming out of this game if you looked at the first 20 minutes, because it was listless, it was ugly. It was at one time the Jaguars had 14 yards and the Chargers had 13 first downs, and they were down 17-0. And really the thought process I had at that point was, wow, Shad Khan's going to make a move here, like maybe at halftime. And Doug Marrone and company might not be back on the plane ride. That's what it felt like. Then all of a sudden, James Robinson was such a spark plug in the second quarter. They score a couple of times. They get a blocked punt, get in the game, take the lead. And then we had a fun football game. So the game turned out to be somewhat entertaining through 3 quarters plus. And then the Jaguars just couldn't finish it off. But there's really not a surprise there. You kind of figured they would falter late, and they did. They gave up the last 10 points of the game, actually the last 17 points of the game. 30-plus points allowed for a 6th consecutive game. That extends a franchise record. Word is they are one of only 3 teams in NFL history to do that. James Robinson, he was really the story for me. Because there were some young guys that played well, but Robinson, they finally give him the rock, and he changed the game, like I said, in the second quarter. And the Jaguars just continue to get no pressure, and pressure was a big story because the Jags have 6 sacks through 7 games. They brought some blitzes, and it was effective at times, but then they would have a penalty, or Herbert beat the pressure. Give credit to him. But on the other side of things, that's where the pressure came. And the Jaguars' offensive line could not hold up against the defensive front of the Chargers, Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa and company. And Gardner Minshew struggled again, but a little bit of defensive number 15, he was under duress quite a bit. And when he wasn't getting sacked, which I think there were 5 of them, he was getting hit. Andrew Kettelander in the broadcast at one time late in the game said he'd been hit 9 times. So that's tough to play quarterback when you are getting hit all the time, and that was the case here today for the Jacksonville Jaguars and Gardner Minshew. Chargers have a pretty good defense. They got to him eventually. There were some nice plays, some fun plays, an entertaining middle of the game for sure, but the beginning was disappointing, and the end once again disappointing. The Jaguars are now 1-6. They've lost 6 in a row after that season-opening win against the Colts. And what do you do? You know, or what do you do with Doug Marrone and company going into a bye week? Do you make the move now? We know it's inevitable. They can't continue to play like this and Doug Marrone keep his job. But do they make a move? And I continue to say I don't think they will. I'm not sure if that's I don't think they should, but I don't think they will. Shad Khan will not make a move here is my guess. But he's got a bye week now to wrestle with it. And sometimes this is the time when moves are made in the NFL. If you look at the other teams that have made moves so far, it's Houston and it's Atlanta. And although they got a bump immediately, they're back to their losing ways for the last couple of weeks. So I think that's what Shad Khan will kind of say along the way. Again, just to reiterate what I said at the top of the show, if that game kept tracking the way it did for the first 20 minutes, I'm not sure I would feel the same way. I think Shad Khan might have had to do something. But this team battled back. They competed. They showed effort. And just not good. I mean, they really just aren't good. I know we're not applauding effort. That's what they should do. They get paid to do. Moral victories might be a thing around here in Jacksonville. They've got to be, because the victories on the scoreboard aren't coming. And depending on how you view this might be a good thing. Because if you want a top draft pick, the Jags are trending in that direction now at 1-6. on the season. Overall, I thought there was one big takeaway that was a positive for me in this game, and that was some of the young players. See, it's very important. The Jaguars are young. They're the youngest team. I hate that kind of excuse all the time. But they are young, and so moving forward, is this ever going to turn around? It's important that they play well, and we see some of these guys. Well, Daniel Thomas played a good game. Young man out of Auburn, had the blocked punt, returned it for a touchdown, but he also did some other things as well, not in special teams and on the field. I thought Quincy Williams, the linebacker they drafted last year, looked so lost last year. He drafted in the 3rd round. Then he got hurt. Then he was hurt at the beginning of this year. He was behind Dakota Allen. Dakota Allen gets hurt. Quincy Williams comes in and really played good football for the most part. I noticed him a lot. So that's a good sign. James Robinson, obviously a young guy. He's a rookie, continues to set undrafted rookie records left and right this season. So that's promising as well. Laviska Shenault had a big 3rd down catch, got him in position to score the first time, but I'm not sure we're seeing enough from Shenault still, and that might be on the quarterback, might be on the situations, but I'd like to see more from Shenault. The creativity has disappeared with number 10, really haven't done much outside of him catching a few passes. Devon Hamilton, heard his name a bunch today. So again, these are very, very small wins and victories, but that's where we're at in Jacksonville, because if you looked at the last couple of weeks, I couldn't even find those. And that's what's a problem. It's more like you can't even look forward to something. Well, if these guys can trend up and play that way, some of the young players, and you already have players like DJ Chark, who you like, Miles Jack, who you like, trying to think of who else. Oh, Josh Allen, who you like, and maybe some other players you want to squeeze in there. Well, then you could see some hope down the road for this Jaguars team. I don't even know if anybody's getting angry anymore. I think this is expected, which is sad. And we're waiting for Doug Marrone to answer the latest from this loss. But I just don't sense that the fan base is like bitterly mad about this loss. I think they're almost, hey, at least they came back, gave it a go, and we were entertained for a few quarters of action. But in the end, disappointment again for Jags fans and for this football team going out west. Again, they have the bye week now, and then they come out of that bye week, and it is a blitz of games with a schedule that looks very difficult. Houston is on that schedule coming out of the gates, but they already beat the Jags. They have 1 win. They're not very good either. So there's maybe a bit of hope there, but that's it. Because after that, it gets very difficult. There you see the AFC South standings. Jags and Texans both will have a bye going into that game, and Tennessee Titans lost today. Here's Doug Marrone as he tries to answer after another loss, 39-29 to the Chargers.
Hey, Doug, could you just talk about your mindset when you went for it on 4th and 2? James Robinson couldn't make it on 3rd and 1. You're leading the game at that time. Your defense seemed to be playing a little bit better at that point. Why go for it on 4th and 2 on your side of the field with a lead?
Yeah, I just wanted to be aggressive. I wanted to, try to go up by 2 scores. I thought that was going to give us the best opportunity to win. I was going to give the ball to James, and we didn't execute well up front, and that's on all of us. On both plays.
A couple of weeks ago, you said you said something to the effect that we show flashes, but flashes don't win games in the NFL. Was this day sort of a reflection of that statement you made a couple weeks ago?
I don't. I mean, I would. There's times, like I said. I mean, we start the game. I think we have 4 3-and-outs. We get down. We come back. It's not my philosophy to go for 2 that early in the game, but I felt like the flow of the game, the way it was going. I wanted to make sure I did that. The same thing with those 3rd and 4th downs. It's not necessarily something that I've done in the past. I think you guys realize that, but I'm trying to give this team a spark. I'm trying to get them going when we have a little bit of momentum, and I think those are critical times that you have to be right on it and focused, and you have to execute. And at the end of the day, 3 out of those 4 plays we didn't execute, and that's you can go ahead and say, player, coach, that's on all of us, and it starts with me. So, that to me is what I'm disappointed in.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Gene. Let's go to Mark and then D-Rock. Yeah, Doug, first off, the significance of how significant is D.D. Westbrook's injury? And then at any point, did you consider benching Gardner Minshew?
The first one was it seems to be pretty significant. I don't know. We don't have the rest of it. The final stuff. So I'm sure I'll have that. For you guys on Tuesday. And then no, I wasn't thinking about that.
And then lastly, how confident are you that you'll be the coach of this team into the bye week and for the next home game?
No, I think any time that you're losing like this and you're not performing well on Sundays, I think it's naive. It can happen. It's something that I just come to work and do the best job I can for the coaches and players. So, I know those questions come, and you guys know me. I understand that, and this is what this game is. Just work as hard as you possibly can, and at the end of the day, you got to hold your head up high, knowing that you did everything you possibly could, to try to win games, and at the same time, you did the best for the coaches and the players.
All right, let's go to D-Rock and then John Shipley.
Hey, Doug, was the game plan today or your approach today to be even more aggressive than you normally are, with fourth downs and the 2-point conversions, or was that more because you needed to give this team a spark after the rough start?
No, I was thinking about it, saying coming in, about being more aggressive. I think, like I said before, I've got a pretty decent track record. I've kind of switched up, and I wanted to try to do something to get this team a spark and get them going and try to get up by, 2 scores, and we weren't able to execute. I felt good about the play. I felt good about, who was handling the play, and when it doesn't get run well, it's easy to point to one person. But like I told everyone in that locker room, that's on all of us. I mean, you've got to take advantage of those situations. The game-changing situations, and when you're not able to do that, it's going to be tough.
Where's the frustration level for these guys, especially when you see a game like today where they probably know that if we had been able to even do anything early, we would be competing with these guys at the end of the game to win that game or maybe even be ahead?
Yeah, it's always hard for me to tell right now, Mike, about, when you're talking about how someone else feels, I think I can tell you this, that we all feel shitty, and the one thing that that's out there on the field is, they're playing as hard as they can. We're just not making the plays we need to make, and that's on all of us. Starts with me.
Thanks, Doug.
Yep, you're welcome.
All right, let's go to John Shipley and then Jamal.
Hey, Coach. Can you point to really the root cause of the defense's issues stopping Herbert from running? It was both, whether it was on scrambles or design runs.
I think missed tackles are the first thing that you look at, John. I think we missed some tackles today. Obviously, that was out there on the field. We had a stunt call. All of a sudden we can't get there, and he runs up and runs out of the pocket. But I give him a lot of credit. We knew going in that for a big guy, he's really fast, and he did a good job of keeping plays going. He did a good job of running, at critical times, and really making some big plays. So, he's got some good people. I think, man coverage, they went to Allen. We saw that during the game. I thought we did a good job. When we had those couple of 3-and-outs, we were switching up the coverages on him, switching that up with the pressure. We came out with an all-out pressure. He backpedaled, made a great throw. So he's proven that he belongs, and I have a lot of respect for the kid.
Yeah. And then, Coach, real quick, what can you say about the performance of Quincy Williams? It seemed like after missing that time he did earlier this year, he made some plays today.
Yeah, I saw a couple. I think it's hard after a game, when you get the individual things, unless they're something in the stat category, that you can point to. But you got out there, and that type of experience will help them.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, John. Let's go to Jamal, and then we're going to finish with Gary Smits.
Hey, Coach, has James Robinson earned the right to be really featured on this offense coming up after the bye week?
Yeah, featured, I mean, I don't want anyone to go take anything away from him. You know what I'm saying? Like, take one of the aspects away from him. I think that, he's really done a great job. I mean, you talk about a guy that's young. The plays he makes and the things he does are, it's not like a rookie. The effort that he plays with is really, you probably don't get as good of a feel for it, watching a game on TV than when you're on the sideline of how hard he plays. And I thought that play where he scored on the pass, was able to take that ball and get it on that pylon. I mean, for a young running back, I mean, he's a guy that plays like a veteran. He really does. And, I think, when the opportunity presents itself, you like to be balanced. I think that helps everyone. I think it helps everyone with their, with our team with moving the football. And I think that, if you just go, in one direction, but, if you look at how many touches he has, and I know that sometimes we haven't given him the ball enough, I mean, he is getting enough touches, and I really think that, could he get more? Yeah. Whether you want to call it featured or something like that, I don't really like, labeling, players like that.
And toward the end of the game, you could really see some of the guys' frustration just through their body language. Do you feel like you're starting to lose some of the guys on the team?
Well, I mean, that's a question for them. I think that if you looked at all of us, I think there's a level of disappointment, when you're not being able to make plays and do all that. So, don't mistake the effort on the field for the body language on the sideline. I think that, it's always tough, you get those questions when you're playing, like the way we're playing or the situation that we're in, because, if you're laughing and joking on the sideline, you get ripped the other way. If you don't show that you're disappointed, then you really don't care. So I think it's really tough when you start talking about, the human emotion of what's going on. I think it's good to just, watch how they play on the field. So I just spoke to them. Obviously, I felt like I had a good talk with them. I think it's hard after a game, to not feel upset when you've worked so hard and you put everything into it.
Thanks, Coach.
Sure.
Thanks, Jamal. All right, let's do Gary with the last question.
Yeah, Doug, with the guys you did not have on defense to start the game, Miles and Jared, and the injuries you had in game, at 29-22, was the defense giving you all they could? I mean, were they making enough plays? Did you feel really good about those guys at that point?
I'm sorry. What players are you talking about? Specific players? Do I feel
well? Good? The defense. I mean, Brandon Watson, Smoot, Quincy. I mean, was the defense when it was 29-22? Were they really giving you a pretty strong effort?
Gary, those guys give a strong effort. I'm not going to sit here, and say. I mean, you guys know. I mean, you guys are watching the same thing that we're watching on the sideline. I mean, those guys are playing with everything they have. At times, we might not be in the right position, or we're going to get beat by an opposing player that's has better leverage on us or whatever it may be. But make no mistake about it. I think some of those penalties, that you see, in the back end, it's just that we're trying to run with those guys, and at times we don't have the favorable matchups that we need. So I think it's just it's not I don't have any issue. Well, I want to make sure I'm clear. I have zero issue with anyone that goes on that field, because of the way they play and the way they try. And like I said before, I mean, if you talk about frustration or disappointment, I look to myself. I've got to find a way, to try to get this team, coaches, everybody over the top and keep plugging away. And, we're going to try to put up a fence or a wall. We're going to look at this stuff and take a good look at things. I don't know if I'm going to have a lot of questions that I'll be able to answer on Wednesday because we got the whole week. But like I told them, I said, look, we got to put this behind us. We've got to learn from it, and we've got to take a different mentality and a different step going into this next phase, after the bye week. So that's what I told the players after the game.
Okay, thanks, Doug.
Sure.
Thanks, Coach.
That is Doug Marrone, the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jaguars lose 39-29 to the Chargers. They've lost 6 in a row. They've given up more than 30 points in 6 straight games. And it gets us to the wall that says it all here. And Gus Bradley was on the other sideline today for the Chargers. He's a defensive coordinator of the Chargers now. Remember the 4 years for Gus, 14-48. It was just brutal, really. One of the worst records of all time coaching. Never won more than 5 games in a season. Well, Doug comes in 2017. This is his record, by the way, overall before today's game. So it's now 23-34. And these numbers, you can add 27 losses in 39 games. Marrone in 17, obviously they did a great job. They go to the AFC Championship game. Can't take anything away from them in that regard. I think you always have to remember that part. But since then, it's been a disaster in Jacksonville, and they can't figure it out. Doug Marrone answered the question about his job. He gets it. He knows it. You really appreciate that about Doug. He doesn't dismiss it. He's been around this thing. He knows when you lose 6 in a row, and when you've lost in 18 and 19 and now 20, that your job could be in jeopardy. And who knows if he does survive the bye week or not. I would think he does, but next 24 hours or so will probably indicate that more than anything else. I think his temperament is very interesting in these news conferences. Last week I was on this show, and I said, man, oh man. I mean, how about throw something, Doug? Give us a temper tantrum. Show some frustration. I wish he kind of did that at times, but today I feel like his temperament's probably the right one. They got a young football team. He just talked about the effort. And when you're a coach, this is totally different than a fan or even us in the media. But when you're a coach and guys are playing hard and trying hard, that's really all you can ask. Then you just got to say, are we good enough? And right now the Jags are clearly not good enough to win football games in the National Football League. As you look at that stadium, by the way, Jags will be home 2 weeks from today, right after the Florida-Georgia game, so it'll be an interesting weekend in Jacksonville. That will be November 8th against Houston. But what's Doug Marrone supposed to do now? I mean, he's tried everything, and it's not working. I will say this, because I want to make sure I'm not hypocritical here. During the game, on that 4th and 1 or 4th and 2 around midfield when they were up 21-16, I had no problem with Doug going for it. This is a team that has nothing to lose. They've lost 5 in a row. They're up by 5. You knew it wasn't going to be enough with the way their defense plays. They still had a half a football to go, essentially. And they just didn't make the play. And so I like the fact that he was aggressive there. It didn't work out. I mean, it shows you that they can't get it on 3rd and 4th and short. That's disappointing. But I had no problem with him going for it there. And he's made some questionable decisions the last few weeks. But I do appreciate that Doug at least is going to be aggressive in those spots and trying to get a 2-score lead and keep the momentum. It backfired once again. And the Chargers got the momentum. They end up going down and scoring. They got a penalty that gave them a first down on that drive as well. And so the Jags just aren't making enough plays. And that's been the story of the year so far. Big injury list as well. They are undermanned on defense especially. I mean, they are really undermanned. But here's some look at some of them. D.D. Westbrook with the bad injury. They didn't show it again on TV, which means it was probably pretty gruesome, and looks like a tough injury for Westbrook after the fumble. And he's had a miserable year, has been healthy scratched most of the way, was active today and up, and had some nice returns, I thought, both in the punt game and the kickoff return game, and then fumbles that one away and gets hurt on the play in a significant manner. Sidney Jones, back injury, actually was tested for a concussion at one time, then hurt the back, so he got hurt a couple times in the game. Dakota Allen with the ankle, and that brought Quincy Williams into the game. And Quincy played really well. Devine Azigbo comes back, just activated this week, and then he hurts the hamstring. Again, those hamstrings can be really tricky. And Devine Azigbo, who they like in the backfield and think they could get some quality plays from, he looks like he's hurt again and could miss some more time. Jaguars were already without Miles Jack and Jared Wilson. You're talking about a defense that, even when fully healthy, probably isn't that good. And now they lose these bodies, and it's tough to stop anybody, and the stats are indicative of that. They give up 39 to the Chargers, and they've given up 30-plus in 6 straight games. Let's talk about the quarterbacks a little bit more, because we've got one guy that is all of a sudden becoming a little bit of a star in the NFL in the last handful of weeks, and finally got his first win. He had played well, but hadn't got any wins. But he had gone up against Brady and Breeze with the Bucs and Saints and done some really good things, got everybody's attention. Honestly, I didn't think he played well in the first half. I thought he was overthrowing guys. He was a little off target. He made a couple of plays, but then he turned it on. When this thing got in a shootout with Gardner Minshew and company, he really turned it on. And that's what he did against Brady as well. Guy's got a competitive nature about him. Herbert, 4 touchdowns, did it with his legs, 400-yard game. He was good. And he might be one of the best young quarterbacks he is one of the best young quarterbacks in the game. How good can he be will be really interesting to watch. What about Gardner Minshew? The struggles continue. That's the reality. I thought this was less on him today than maybe the last couple of weeks, especially last week. That offensive line didn't give him a lot of time, and you credit Chargers too. They have a very good defense. But you could once again see guys like DJ Chark getting a little frustrated toward the end of the game on a couple of those plays when they were down 10, still had a chance. Although Minshew could be frustrated with Chark too. He's dropped a couple of balls the last couple of weeks that were right in his hands. So the meshing of this receiving core and the quarterback just isn't there. And now the clock in Minshew's mind certainly has been sped up. When you get hit 9 times and sacked 5 times in a game, the Chargers defense did a good job of keeping him in that pocket. Not a lot of scramble yards. So let's look at the comparison that we have with these two guys and just look. I mean, the numbers speak for itself. Sometimes the numbers don't tell the whole story. And Minshew, by the way, started very slow, right? They went 4 straight 3-and-outs to start the game. Didn't even complete a pass in the first 20 minutes of the game. They didn't get a first down until 20 minutes into the game, in the 5 minutes into the second quarter. And then he played better, and he made some throws. He made a beautiful throw to Chris Conley. So he has that in him. But it's the antsy nature of the feet right now, and the clock looks so off for Minshew, and the swagger is gone for Gardner Minshew. This was a James Robinson game. But on the other side, Herbert, in the most important time of the game, delivered big. Late third quarter into the fourth quarter, made 2 huge throws, ran one in as well. And look at the numbers. They don't lie in this one. Again, sometimes the numbers lie. This time they don't. Justin Herbert had one heck of a football game for the Chargers. Hey, do we have some scores from earlier while we wait for Gardner Minshew and others to get to the mic in L.A.? We will take a look at some of the other scores. Actually, you know what's interesting is that Kansas City Chiefs and the Patriots, they not playing each other, but they were playing in that late window. The Jags were actually the most entertaining game against the Chargers because the other 2 games were blowouts. Here's some of the look from earlier games. Thursday nighter, 22-21 for the Eagles. The Detroit Lions, we'll show you this one later tonight in Action Sports Jax Primetime. They win at the buzzer. Final play of the game, they beat the Falcons. Cleveland in a shootout with Joe Burrow. Burrow went over 400 yards today. He was spectacular, but Mayfield threw for 5 touchdowns. The undefeated battle between the Titans and Steelers. Gostkowski missed a 46-yard field goal as time expired, or they could have sent that one to overtime. Green Bay wins, and that score wasn't even as close as it ended up. Green Bay dominated the Texans. Saints beat the Panthers. And the Bills get by the Jets. The Jets were up 10-0 at one time in that game before the Bills scored 18 unanswered. And look at Washington. Washington with a 35-3 win over Dallas. So Washington has 2 wins. The Jets have no wins. Houston and Atlanta have 1 win. Minnesota still with 1 win. And the Jags with 1 win. Let's go to Gardner Minshew. He's at the podium right now. Let's check in with the Jags QB. Another frustrating day.
Let's start with John Reed, and then we'll go to Mark Long.
How you doing, Gardner? Can you just talk about your start and how did you manage to shake that off? They showed a couple of clips on the sideline, and you just looked a little frustrated there with Coach Jay. But can you just talk about what was difficult and how did you shake that start off?
I mean, yeah, we were frustrated. We had like 4 3-and-outs. I mean, that was, about as bad as you can start. But one thing I was proud of is how, we didn't, fold or send it in right there. Kept fighting, kept working. Defense kept battling their tail off to keep us in it, and managed to find somewhat of a groove. And then, obviously couldn't find it late.
Thank you, John. We'll go to Mark Long, and then we'll go to Mike Duraco.
Yeah, hey, Gardner, I mean, coming into a bye week, is that a game you feel like you guys can build on all that resiliency?
I think so. I mean, I think every week there's good and bad. You know, I think that's one thing I am proud of. You know, we just got to keep working to put a complete game together, you know. But I think, you know, it hurts, but I wouldn't say we're discouraged. I think everybody's looking for a solution still, and, you know, it's a fight. It's tough right now, and we know that, but as long as these guys keep fighting, we're going to figure it out.
Thank you, Mark. We'll go to D-Rock, and then we'll go over to Jamal.
Hey, Gardner, you were kind of cranking your arm, I guess, or the shoulder there later on in that game. Were you banged up a little bit at any point there?
A little bit, but, you know, just normal stuff.
Did you like Doug's aggressive approach today? He said he was going to come in today and be aggressive, obviously with the 4 fourth downs and the 2 2-point conversions, or 3 2-point conversion attempts. Yeah, absolutely. I think anytime a coach puts faith in you like that, you know, you want to reward him. And we did at times today, didn't at times. But anytime, you know, coach puts up that kind of confidence, I think it kind of resonates to the team. Thanks, bro.
Thanks, T-Rock. Let's go over to Jamal and then to John Shipley.
Hey, Gardner, what did you think about James Robinson's performance today?
He battled his tail off, man. I mean, with Chris out, you know, he's really the only guy in there. I know Dio played some snaps, but, man, he really carried a load today. You know, caught the ball, ran the ball. Couldn't be more proud of, like, how hard, you know, he's playing and working. And, yeah, I mean, I expect him to continue to do that and get better and better.
And there were some reports that you could get benched if you played poorly today. Had the coaches talked to you about the possibility of getting pulled before today's game?
No, that was never mentioned.
All right. Appreciate it, Gardner.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jamal. We'll go to John Shipley and then to Gary Smits.
Hey, Gardner. Obviously, you know, last season, even times this year, you and DJ have had a great connection. Can you just kind of point to what kind of went wrong today with that?
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know. It's you know, it's we need to make a effort to get him the ball because we know how dynamic he can be. You know, it's frustrating. I know he's frustrated. He just wants to help the team win. You know, and we got to give him the opportunity to do that. So whatever we got to do, you know, the bye week could be a good opportunity to kind of take a look at it and, you know, get him back to the Pro Bowl level that, you know, he really is.
Thanks, Gardner.
Thanks, John. We'll go over to Gary.
That is Gardner Minshew at the mic. We'll have more from him coming up a little bit later on Action Sports Jack's primetime tonight. Not 10:30, it'll be after the World Series game on Fox 30, but 11:30 on CBS 47 as we discuss this and break this game down and what's next for the Jaguars. We have a poll question out on Twitter at Brent A.S. Jacks. Should the Jags make a move? It's the bye week. Should Shad Khan make a move with head coach Doug Marrone? And there's conversation about should they make a move at quarterback. They're not going to make a move at quarterback, in my opinion. But just mention DJ Chark. I got to get on the same page because DJ Chark's special talent, and they're not utilizing that talent. Look what the Chargers did with the young quarterback in Keenan Allen. That's how you're supposed to use your top weapon. He made a ton of catches. DJ Chark not catching the football enough. All right, we're going to get out of here. World Series, by the way, on Fox 30. It just started. And we'll be at the bank in a couple of weeks for the Jags as they come out of the bye week and try to fix this thing. We'll try to talk more about how to fix this thing later tonight on Primetime. Thanks for hanging out with us here on the postgame show. Hope you had a good weekend, everybody. We'll see you tonight on TV.
It's the best local sports show in Jacksonville. Thanks for watching the Action Sports Jax postgame show, sponsored by Anajar and Levine Accident Attorneys.